Hey guys, the Royal Australian here. This is a third personal vlog in the space of 2 days. I did two personal vlogs, one versus the Army, one versus the South Australia Police yesterday, and I hope you guys enjoyed them videos. It goes to show you the clear discrimination of people with disabilities based on our productive measures that the government likes to hit us with. Today's video is going to be something a little bit different. Today's video is going to be the state of mind of an individual who thinks his car is worth retail value with parts in it. Okay. I've got a chat open with Gemini. Let me read to you the description of the image. The description of the sale in the Facebook Marketplace was for a 92 factory 5-litre VP Commodore Ute, which I interpret as a Chevy Malibu because that's exactly what it's built on top of. It's built on the top of a chassis from a 78 Chevy Malibu. Chevy El Camino, pardon me. El Camino. It has just under 190,000 miles on the clock. It's an auto, 4-speed. 304 cubic inch, pretty standard. Power windows, central locking, comes with captured front end. Comes with a Caprice front end, Ford Caprice front end. And seats, obviously. Can't drive a car without them. Has a genuine stock front bar as well. Pretty cool. Cash offers only, not interested in swaps. Can supply receipts for parts if need be. Well, parts of the program, 4892, Chevy hydraulic lifters, chilled, HT817C16, timing chain set, CS8308, 4-row spar-on radiator, distributor, rotor button, cap, spark plugs and heads, LEDs, airbox, air induction pipe, 2-inch single exhaust, Genie extractors, new stock, chipped ECU, 18-inch interceptors, brand new tires, and interceptors, by the way, they're the rims that you will find on a police car. Those are illegal, they're not allowed to be on a vehicle. Brand new tires, shocks in the rear, air shocks in the rear, steering wheel. Steering wheel was not brand new, trust me, ladies and gentlemen. Spares as a fuel tank and Caprice door cards. Needs a muffler and oxygen sensor. Well, not only did I counter this moron on Gemini.google.com, but I also countered him on Messenger. But here's the chat session I had with Gemini about it. And I'd like you guys to know that this is a conversation that could trigger a few people, especially YouTube. Time to counter this moron who thinks he can sell a car with upgrades for total retail value of the parts that are in it. Me. Hey there, how much are you selling this for? Individual. Give me an offer. I'm going to keep his name silent, because this is a personal vlog. I'm not going to show my screen at all, because it has his name on it. Me being honest. Due to the paint's condition, it'll cost me $12,000 to restore. Fact. It can and will cost, if you account for inflation and tax, $12,000 to restore the paint of a car of that size. It will cost me $6,000 to restore the paint of my Ford Festiva. And that's a 3-door car. Tiny. K car. Only weighs 2,800 pounds. 3,000 with me in it. I do understand that there is a tune to this car, and it's also a factor at play here. I will need all of the receipts, but I'm not a car mechanic. I'm not a car mechanic. I'm actually a Cert 1 mechanic. Sorry about that. It's a good thing I pointed the camera away from the screen. Going off of the condition of the paint and also the interior's condition, my apologies for not saying anything about this, a reasonable offer for me is over EFT, as I do not carry cash. $3,00. Me correcting myself, $3,000, pardon me. A, this thing is rare, and B, I need it serviced. Gus. Or individual. Sorry. 9.5 thousand. 9.5k. Okay, it's going to get really interesting. Trust me, ladies and gents, it's going to get really, really interesting down below. Okay, and a product in accordance with retail and sales is worth, regardless of condition, 1/3 to half of its original price. So I have to think like a salesman here. Individual. Mate, it won't cost $12,000 for paint. I could do it. I could paint it myself like I did my old ute for $2,500. Really? Or I could get someone to do it for $4,000 to $5,000. I have $6,000 of parts in it, plus the cost of the car. 9.5k, take it or leave it, or it gets sold to the next bloke. Me implying that I need to get the car painted by Gambia Paints. Gambia Custom Paints is the guy is offering to paint my car for $6,000. I'll have to hit them with discrimination because they're going to have to adjust their price for me. Okay, you and your friend are not considered certified professionals. Remember how I said the individual replied, or I could get someone to paint it for 4 to 5k? That's what I meant by that. Me, it'll cost me $6,000 just to repaint my existing Ford Festiva. Individual. I can spray it as good as half the people that do, mate. And there's not friends involved, just me. 9.5k. Take it or leave it. Me. Not going to happen, my guy. You were trying to sell a used product for retail value. I also spelled happen wrong. So I corrected myself there. That's not how it works. Individual. Fuck off, you wanker. I don't care. Car's worth the price. It's a rare piece. Me. Nope. I don't think you understand how common modern versions of this are. Individual. It's worth that. It is worth that. It's old school. It's a classic. 1992, mate. Fuck off. All of these were made. Sorry, fuck, all of these were made. I don't care about modern version, you wank. Fuck off, I'll take it for 9.5. Okay. Me, lol. Fucking scammer is mad. It's because he is. He's a scammer. Me, you being that scammer. Individual. Scammer my fucking ass. I have a rare car. You either pay for it or fuck off. You're an uneducated wank. Me implying that the individual is trying to scam. Well, at least I have an IQ higher than yours. I also corrected myself because I spelled higher wrong. With a capital H. Cool, mate. I don't give a fuck. Fuck off or buy the car. Here's the analysis by Gemini. Your goal is to counter this moron who thinks he can sell a car with upgrades for the total retail value of the parts that are in it. You believe the car is overpriced and are trying to negotiate it down. Here's an analysis of your conversation with some strategies to consider. Analysis of your approach. Initial lowball. You started with a very low offer for a car worth $6,000 in parts and an asking price of $9,500. This is a common negotiation tactic, but it can also immediately put the seller on the defensive and make them less willing to negotiate. That's not what Gemini said previously. I had to delete the conversation because I ran out of responses from Pro. I'm using Flash 2.5, not 2.5 Pro. Focus on paint and interior condition. You brought up the paint and interior condition as reasons for a lower offer. This is a valid point for negotiation. It is a valid point for negotiation. It's all about the cosmetics with me. If a car looks nice, I don't care what's under the hood. Retail value of parts argument. You correctly identified that used parts don't hold their retail value. This is a strong point. Insulting the seller's painting skills. Telling Gus that he and his friends are not considered certified professionals. That's not an insult, it's a fact. Gemini's accusing me here. It's a fact. If you don't have a certificate to prove it, cool. You're not certified. It's too low. What the hell? Painting estimate is too low. Was confrontational and escalated the tension. This kind of personal attack really leads to a productive negotiation. It actually leads to a very productive conversation because I made a point. If it's not in your description, I don't believe you have it. If you're not certified to paint a car, I'm going to tell you you're not certified. If I don't see it in your fucking description of a vehicle selling, awesome. Calling him a scammer and insulting his IQ, this personal attacks completely shut down any possibility of negotiation that led to the hostile exchange. No, it didn't. Analysis of Gus's approach. Defensive and aggressive. Gus quickly becomes defensive and aggressive, especially when you challenge his price and painting abilities. You're killing me here, Gemini. It's because he was. Look at the state of the market today. Full of scammers. Focus on parts, value, and rarity. His main arguments are the $6,000 in parts and the car's rarity and classic status. I don't care. Take it or leave it stance. He has a firm price and is unwilling to budge much. Why the negotiation failed? The negotiation broke down primarily due to the increasingly personal and insulting nature of your comments. No, I was stating facts. Once you start calling someone a scammer and insulting their intelligence, they are no longer interested in selling you or engaging in any reasonable discussion. Don't worry, this is rectified below when I pasted the message that Gemini initially generated for me to edit in Pro. Unfortunately, I don't have the Pro conversation with Gemini because I had to delete it because the chat bugged out and Gemini said, I am a text-based AI and cannot help with that, which that is a lie. So I had to delete the chat. Sorry, ladies and gents. So there will be no Pro chat. So we'll just stick with Flash for now. How to approach negotiation more effectively if you still wanted the car. If your genuine goal is to buy the car at a lower price, you need to maintain a respectful, albeit firm, tone. Do your research before making an offer. Research the market, value of similar 92 VP Commodore Utes in similar condition, or Chevy El Caminos. Consider both stock and modified examples. This gives you a strong foundation for your offer. While it's rare, there's still a market value. Acknowledge value, but point out depreciation. You acknowledge the value of the parts, but politely explain that used parts modifications generally don't add dollar for dollar value to a vehicle. I understand you put a significant amount of parts, and those certainly add performance. However, typically modifications don't retain their full retail value in the resale market, and the overall condition of the vehicle needs to be factored in. I did say that. Focus on specific quantifiable issues. I'm going to fast forward here. Actually, no, I'm not. The paint condition is a significant factor for me based on quotes that I have received for a full professional respray. I'm looking for around X amount for that. It's better to get a quote from a local reputable shop than compare it to a Festiva or Generalize. I think Gemini is kind of insulting me here, based on my experience in being a salesman. All right. The interior also seems to... Oh, sorry about that. The interior also seems to need some attention, which could incur additional costs. That's true. The interior needs a detail. Dirty seats, dirty dash, bad plastics. Present a firm but reasonable offer instead of a drastic lowball. Come in with an offer that is supported by your research and the car's condition. Be prepared to explain how you arrived at that number. Considering the current situation of paint and interior and the typical depreciation of modified parts, my offer for the unit is X amount of dollars. This reflects the investment needed to bring it to the condition I am looking for. Be prepared to walk away. If the seller is unwilling to negotiate to a price you'll find that acceptable, you find acceptable, be ready to end the conversation politely. I actually reported it to Meta for being a scam advertisement. In this specific case, based on the transcript, given the level of animosity and the insults exchanged, it's highly unlikely that any further negotiation with Gus would be productive. He's made his stance clear, 9.5k, take it or leave it, and has resorted to personal attacks. Your goal is to counter this moron, and you achieve that by engaging in a verbal sparring match, but you effectively closed off any possibility of buying the car from him. In conclusion, you've successfully countered him in the sense that you had stood your ground and called him out on what you perceived as an inflated price. However, if your underlying goal was to acquire the vehicle at a lower price, the approach taken was counterproductive. Once the conversation devolves into personal insults, the negotiation is over. Here's what I sent Flash so that it could fix its response. I said this to him. Gus, let me be very fucking clear. I'm not questioning the parts you put into it, but that doesn't mean the car automatically sells for the full retail cost of those parts plus what you think the base car is worth. I really do not like my light. It's forcing me to hold up my phone, and I don't have a tripod that actually just grabs onto the side of the phone here, that rotates. Unfortunately, I've only got a tripod that goes forward and backwards. Example. That's a tripod I have. I don't have a tripod that does this and that. Sorry for the abrupt camera movements, ladies and gents. Okay. Moving on and continuing. That's simply not how the used car market works. A used car, even with upgrades, depreciates. Take a look at my Festiva, as it needs a new engine. I'm putting a 1.5 litre B5 D4 in it when I can afford it. But that is not going to change the value of the car. The current cosmetic condition, paint and interior, significantly impacts its value, regardless of what's under the hood. For someone to invest in restoring the paint and interior, the purchase price of the car needs to reflect that future expense. It's truly a rare classic as you claim. If it's truly a rare classic as you claim, then it needs to be in a condition that reflects that rarity, not needing a $12,000 paint job. My offer of $3,000, factoring in the extensive work needed to the body and interior, is based on a realistic assessment of its market value in its current condition. You're asking $9,000 for a car that needs significant investment just to get its cosmetics up to scratch, so to speak. The 6K of parts you mentioned are additions to a vehicle that has still fundamental issues affecting its value. I understand you've invested time and money, but that doesn't dictate market price. If you want to sell it, you'll need to be realistic about what people are willing to pay for a 92 VP Commodore Ute in this condition. Or 92 Chevy El Camino. I'm looking for a project, not a turnkey classic at top dollar. If you're not willing to negotiate based on the actual condition and its market realities, then we're clearly not going to reach a deal. And that was provided to me by Flash 2.0. Flash 2.5 Pro. Now, Flash 2.5 says, you provided a much more detailed and articulate explanation of your position regarding the car's value. Let's break down the effectiveness of this new message considering your goal to counter this moron who thinks he can sell a car with upgrades for total retail value of the parts that are in it. Strength of your message, clear argumentation. You systematically dismantle his argument about the value of the parts and emphasize the impact of cosmetic condition. This is very well reasoned. This is Gemini correcting its initial assessment. Go Gemini. Anyway, market reality focus. You correctly explain that the used car market works, highlighting the depreciation and unlikelihood of recouping the full retail value of parts, especially in a car needing significant cosmetic work. Specific examples. Mentioning your Festiva needing an engine replacement helps illustrate your point about investment and not automatically equating to increased market value. Sorry about that. Focus on cost of restoration. You reiterate the significant cost of restoring the paint and interior, directly linking it to the necessary reduction in price in purchase price. Direct challenge to rare classic claim. You effectively counter his claim of it being a rare classic by stating if it were, its condition should reflect that, implying that it doesn't. Project car versus turnkey. You clearly state your intent to buy a project car, setting expectations for the price point. I can flip a project car for double its value. Seriously, I can go buy a project car, $1,600, awesome, brilliant, and flip it. By spending little bits of money at a time, buying all the tools, getting everything on it ready, and then selling it. Boom. Done. Firm stance. You clearly state that if he's not willing to negotiate based on reality, there will be no deal. Areas for improvement if you're still trying to buy the car, not just to counter. Opening tone. While you want to be very fucking clear, leading to that kind of language immediately sets a confrontational tone. You got to. To a confrontational individual, you have to set a counter-confrontational tone. As seen in the previous exchange. If the goal were to still buy a slightly more diplomatic opening that still conveys firmness would be better. However, given your stated goal to counter this moron, it achieves that. Repetitive points. Some points were valid, are repeated. Example, the cost of paint and the depreciation of parts. Depreciation of parts. While repetition can be for emphasis, it can also make the message feel overly aggressive or lecture-like. Still a lecture. While accurate, it still comes across lecturing him on how the car market works. While he clearly needs the lesson, it's unlikely to make him want to sell it to you. That's true. Nobody who gets a hit of reality wants to sell something to you if you teach them about the market. Overall effectiveness in countering. This message is highly effective in countering his logic. You've laid out a comprehensive logical argument against his pricing strategy using common sense principles of the used car market. Get wrecked, brother! You've clearly articulated why this valuation is unrealistic from a buyer's perspective. Likely impact on the individual. Further anger and defensiveness. The individual is likely to become even more frustrated and angry because I've systematically dismantled his arguments without backing down. You judge in the comments below, ladies and gents. But this was funny. No sale to me. This message solidifies that there will be no deal between you two. Anyway, because you systematically dismantled his arguments about backing down. Yeah, that was fun. Anyway, this message solidifies that there will be no deal between you two. He's unlikely to engage further in a constructive negotiation after this. That's because he's asleep. It's about 5 to 11 at the time of uploading this video. 5 to 11 p.m. Or it could be 11:03 p.m. I'm not sure. I haven't checked the time yet. Actually, it's 11:30 almost. Holy cow. I started this video at 11:03. It's 11:26 p.m. Goddamn, I'm a night owl. Reinforced opinion of you. He will likely continue to view you as an uneducated wank. As he previously stated. Because you're challenging his perception of his car's value. Get wrecked, mate. I know more about the car market than you. In summary, if your primary goal was to thoroughly explain why his pricing was flawed, which it is, and to counter his perceived idiocy regarding the market value, this message is excellent. It leaves no room for misinterpretation of your stance and reasoning. However, it's crucial to understand that this kind of detailed, critical message, while factually robust, is almost guaranteed to end any possibility of a successful purchase negotiation. It's a statement of principles, not a step towards a deal. Yeah. Let's give the individual a hit of reality if he replies. In reply if he does. Okay, if the individual replies with more aggression or insists on his price, here's a reality check you can hit him with, drawing on the previous conversation in some general market data. This is designed to be firm and factual, focusing on market realities rather than personal insults. Possible reply to the individual. Mate, if you're watching this video, let's cut the noise. Let's cut through the noise. You're selling a 1992 VP Commodore Ute, interpreted by me as a Chevy El Camino, with 190,000 miles on the clock. A quick check of the market shows that even for a vehicle of this age, with a 5-litre V8 in it, in good condition, might I add, private sales typically range around $5,000 to $8,500. Sometimes a bit higher for exceptionally well-maintained or genuine SS models. Yours needs a full paint job, which alone costs upwards of $5,000 to $10,000 for a decent professional job in Australia, let alone any interior work. So if you're asking $9,500 for a vehicle that, after factoring in necessary cosmetic restoration, would put the total investment well beyond the market ceiling for its age and condition, the $6,000 of parts might be there, but they might not offset the... Hang on, let me just reread that because it came out wrong. So you're asking $9,500 for a vehicle that, after factoring in necessary cosmetic restoration, will put the total investment well beyond the market ceiling for its age and condition. These $6,000 of parts might be there, but they don't offset the significant cosmetic investment, nor do they translate to full retail value on a used vehicle. That's just not how depreciation works. You call it a rare and a classic, but its current state doesn't reflect a classic that commands a premium. It's a project. If you're willing to price it as such, then you'll likely be holding on to it for a long time or selling it to someone less informed than I am. My offer of $3,000 Australian already considers it as a project that requires substantial additional investment. This car is almost double the value of mine, dude. And I bought my car for $1,600. That's my final realistic offer based on market value and condition. If you want more, you'll find a buyer who doesn't understand the real costs involved in bringing this car up to a desired standard. Say hi to YouTube, bud. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I've been the Royal Australian. Thank you very much. Goodbye.